Oh.
Hello and welcome to YCFT, that's Yellow Couch Film Talks. We decided to keep the name, I abbreviated it, and here we are, we're back again and I'm wearing the same shirt.
You're in the same shirt, I'm still in the red beanbag.
Yeah.
Consistency.
Consistency, yeah. Consistency is key.
It is.
And this mic will not cut into my face this time.
Yeah.
So Sam, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about the first 4 Friday the 13th movies.
First 4.
The first 4, and there is a reason why we decided on the first 4.
Yes. I think us watching all 12 of them for a single video
would be
a bit
not
excessive.
impossible.
Not impossible.
Cutting it fine though for us.
Cutting it fine. The reason we picked the first 4 is we feel when watching it they are the first chapter of Jason's life. You have the human Jason that we'll go into like the what is supernatural, what isn't, but any film after the 4th one, Jason is no longer a human person.
Yeah.
So, and considering one is called the final chapter, it does
just
kind of bookmark that story.
It definitely does. And I think for a lot of fans, the first 4 films are kind of known as like the classic era of
the
Jason.
classic era.
Things definitely take a turn in part 5 onwards.
Yeah, which will be a second video.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if you like it, press like.
Yeah, let us know.
Press like, let us know. So let's talk what got us into, or got us back into, should I say, back into Friday the 13th.
Okay, well it kind of actually starts a year ago when I was watching that very, very long but amazing Crystal Lake Memories documentary that's on Shudder, and I told you to watch at the time, but then it got taken off Shudder.
Yeah.
It's literally like 7 hours long. We managed to find it again a few weeks ago. You watched it, and then that kind of got you back into the game.
It did, yeah. I started playing the game again, which is, since the first time I played it, service has ended, so trying to get a game that doesn't
it's a shame
crash out with the host leaving is quite hard, but I've really enjoyed the buggy mess that it is.
It's so
playing
glitchy.
as Jason is very rewarding when you learn how to use them and going through the different Jasons and their abilities.
Yeah.
That's been a lot of fun, and that just made me want to experience all their stories.
It's a fun game.
Again.
Like I'm not a gamer in any way, shape or form, but I enjoy watching you play Friday the 13th.
Yeah, and the attention to detail on the maps.
It's
And what I'm rewatching
so
the films
cool.
thinking, I know these areas better purely because I've ran through trying to hide from Jason.
Yeah.
So
yeah. The
that's just
detail is
for a very buggy game.
good.
The attention to detail is incredible.
I actually also think it kind of adds to the charm of the game as well.
It does,
the fact
but
that
when
it's
you're
so
playing
unpolished.
Jason for the very, very first time and it bugs out so
You can't even crash through a door.
you can't crash through a door,
not
so
great,
all the
that.
counters just hide inside. It kind of takes away from the experience.
Yeah, it does. That wasn't all finest hour.
No,
game.
it wasn't. So, should we get into the films?
Let's start, yeah. Friday 13th. Very first one.
Yeah, it was released in 1980.
It was released in 1980. It is considered to be the first ever summer camp slasher of all time. So when it was released, it had a budget initially of $550,000. It was produced by a guy called Sean S. Cunningham, who he didn't have a terrible career, but he was most well known in making money off softcore porn movies. That's kind of what was getting him by. And he had this idea to make a new horror film.
In particular, to rip off Halloween.
Literally, I have a quote here. Sean S. Cunningham is quoted as saying, "Halloween is making money at the box office, let's rip it off."
Yeah.
That is literally the brainchild of Friday the 13th.
Yeah. Well, as we found out from the documentary, he put out a page in Variety just with the name Friday the 13th with no story and got backing just off that.
Yeah, he just correctly presumed that alone would pique people's interests and get bums in cinemas, and it worked. Absolutely worked. He placed that ad with just the title. He did not have a script. He did not have the concept of the movie at all. It was just the title. And then he hires a guy called Victor Miller to write the screenplay.
Which I think I'll talk about him a bit later.
Okay.
Mainly because I think we need to introduce Jason later on the films to get the full effect of that story.
The full context.
Yeah.
That also is very messy.
Yeah. Going forward, this is a very we'll just say a spoiler-filled talk.
Very, yeah. From
the film,
from
it's
the get-go.
31. It's 31 years old. This
Yeah,
film.
if you haven't seen this movie and you're watching us talk about it, what are you doing?
Yeah. So
you should know by now.
1980. Friday the 13th Part 1.
Yeah.
No Jason.
No
Jason is not the killer in this film.
No.
What do you on rewatch? What did you think of this film?
I actually really like this movie a lot. It's strange in that it's probably, in terms of franchises, the first film of most franchises is always considered the best. Like, you can never really ever top the original. It's not considered the case in the Friday the 13th franchise. No. The first is never tends to be people's favourites. It's not my favourite, but I do really like it.
Yeah, it was definitely more of a whodunit.
It is it is.
Deal.
It's a mystery film. It is kind of slow in parts. Like, there's a very extended scene where the final girl, Alice, is making a cup of coffee, and we see that's like a 5-minute scene of her literally just making a cup of coffee. It's like, okay, it's very much an amateur movie.
Yeah.
But I still like it as a horror.
There's nothing supernatural about this.
There is nothing supernatural about this movie. No.
And you do understand Pamela Voorhees' motivations.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. So we do see, obviously, Jason drowns. We see her initially kill the counsellors to do with that, kills 2 counsellors.
Yeah.
Her whole drive is to make sure this doesn't happen again. So as soon as they start to reopen the camp, she knows, in her mind, she has to kill them to stop this from happening.
Yeah.
Like, she is a little bit mad.
She's the mad matriarch.
What's the name of the actress there?
Oh.
Betsy Palmer?
God, yeah, it's Betsy Palmer.
Yeah, Betsy Palmer, who did it so she could buy herself a new car.
That is absolutely true.
Which is absolutely true. Tom Savini did the makeup effects as well, and there are some really good kills in this.
There's some fantastic kills.
In particular, it's Kevin Bacon's in the bed.
I think that is probably the most classic of all the kills in this movie. Very baby Kevin Bacon.
Probably the most famous person to be in
a
Friday film, but we can't call him the star. He's not. He's very much a background.
Oh, he is.
Character.
Yeah, he is. Something I do like about the first film that I think you kind of lose as the films continue is you do get to spend a lot of time with each and every one of these counsellors. There's not that many that they get lost. Like, you get to know all of them by name and you remember their names.
Yes.
Like, you know who Kev Bacon is, you know his girlfriend Marcy, and you know Alice, and you know Brenda. Yeah. Like, you get to know all of these characters very well.
Alice as a final girl.
Yeah. Again, I like her.
Yeah.
I like Adrienne King as Alice. I think she was actually chosen... Well, actually, initially, do you know who they wanted for the part of Alice? They actually wanted Sally Field.
Oh, no way.
Wanted Sally Field. Sally said no. And then they kind of just did a complete 360 on their approach to the character. They kind of realised, chances are we're not going to get a big name for this.
No.
So they started the audition process again. Adrienne King came in, and they just liked her very natural ability. They just thought she was a very natural actress. And so she was hired. And that's how they found their Alice.
I do like her as a final girl, and I do like that it comes down to two women fighting.
It's
and
cool.
Their fight scene is quite extensive.
It's a fight between the ladies, and it got very real.
Did it get real?
Scene.
There's a lot of hair pulling, biting.
Yeah, well, there's a really fun bit of trivia where Betsy Palmer, I think she was quite an accomplished stage actress, so in the fight scene she slaps Alice across the face, and apparently Adrienne King went a bit apeshit. I was like, what are you doing? She hit me, and Betsy Palmer was like, yeah, of course I hit you, like, how else are we going to do this fight? And then Cunningham had to intervene and say, no, Betsy, that's not what we do. Yeah, it is quite a cool extended fight scene. Yeah, and they are 2 very, very interesting female characters.
Yeah. And I definitely think it is a fun film to rewatch. It is a bit slow. They definitely didn't make it with a sequel in mind.
They absolutely did not.
The ending... the endings of Friday the 13th films we will talk about as we go along.
We will discuss.
Obviously, the iconic moment of Jason's rotting body coming out of the water to pull her in, which is later passed off as a dream.
Yeah.
I don't think they meant it as a dream at the time.
I don't know. It feels like when they are retrospectively asked about it, they're giving answers that suit
I think they wanted a shock value, and even if the scene goes off quite long, you feel like, oh, there's not going to be anything like that. Then it does happen. And you never could have predicted what that was.
No, I mean it's worth pointing out. It's kind of obvious, but for the first film, Jason is dead.
Yeah,
he's a boy that drowned in the late 50s. He is dead. Her whole motive is to avenge her little boy's death.
Yeah.
So we go through this whole film thinking, right, Jason is dead.
It's like the film doesn't even lead you to believe that Jason is the killer in any
way.
Not
at all.
I remember I first watched it already knowing what Friday the 13th was and being very confused as to why this woman was killing everybody.
I think for a lot of people that know Hockey Mask Jason,
yeah,
and then they come to watch the very first film, it is very confusing. Especially
even watching the second film.
Sucks if you're Drew Barrymore in Scream when you're asked a trivia question.
Good reference, that one.
That did not end well for her.
Speaking of people being used to Hockey Mask Jason and potentially being disappointed, part 2, we have Potato Sack Jason.
Part 2.
Which, it's definitely a reference to the town who feared sundown.
The town that dreaded sundown.
Town that dreaded sundown.
Yeah, which in itself is based off a real serial killer.
Yeah.
Texarkana killer.
So, I can understand why after this one they decided to give him a bit more of an identity, because you could mix him up with it.
But it is still that thing of, right, we're going to do a sequel, we need a killer, we're going to make him Jason.
How do we do a sequel?
It created a major paradox for the franchise. It also started
a weird trend of the first 5 minutes of the film being just the end of the last film.
Yeah, the prologues in the first 4 films of the Friday movies. They are
like, there's no point in watching the previous one if you just need a quick catch up. Say, oh, I'll just watch the prologue.
Yeah, just literally you can fast forward it. Fast forward like 10 minutes.
It's like the setup. You can't think about the setup too much because in this sequel, Jason has been alive all this time. He didn't drown in a lake. He's been living in the woods as a wild man.
This is the thing. So the only way that part 2 and the rest of the franchise can make sense is if you believe, okay, Jason didn't actually drown when Betsy Palmer thought he drowned. He somehow survived. For some reason, didn't go back to his mum. Ended up just living a life in the woods and watching Crystal Lake from afar.
Yeah, and sees his mother get decapitated.
Watched his mum being murdered, then travelled all the way to wherever it is Alice is living at the beginning of part 2, kill her, and then that kind of kickstarts part 2. But that's the only way that the franchise can make sense.
Yeah, I do like how the second one begins with Alice back home.
Totally improvised scene.
Totally improvised.
Yeah.
And it does make sense why they didn't just keep her for the full film when she was up for doing it.
There was no script, and she came to the set intending she was going to be in the whole film, and it was only when she arrived on the set and they filmed her death scene that she found out.
But I like Jason in this one. It feels...
I do. I do.
I kind of feel like the wrong turn. Their characterizations were based off this Jason.
Yeah, there's definitely something of like the hillbilly vibe to Sackhead Jason. Like the overalls and the pillowcase or the sack, whatever it is that they use.
It's a shirt he's wearing, isn't he?
Yeah,
it's actually a checkered shirt.
It is a checkered shirt and like some kind of blue denim overalls. It's just the idea that this poor guy's been living in the woods on his own.
We see his home.
His little shack.
Yeah, we do get it's the iconic shot now of like his mother's head
as a shrine.
Yeah. And he just goes on a killing.
He goes on a killing. He's got to avenge his mama.
Yeah. My main takeaway from the second film, which I really like, and at the end we'll do our rankings for them, is Paul Holt got done dirty.
Paul Holt
was a great character.
Great.
And he gets an off-screen death that isn't even confirmed.
No, does he die? Is Paul Holt dead? Can you kill Paul Holt?
Yeah, and Amy Steele is often regarded as the best final girl.
Amy Steele she's my personal favourite of the Friday girls. I think she's great.
I liked the cast in this one. Like they were a lot of fun.
So part 2, for me personally, I think the characters, the counsellors in this film, are the best of all of the counsellor type characters that you get in any of the franchises. They're the most likeable. I think they act the most naturally. They're definitely the most memorable. I really, really like them. And I also kind of like the coupling. Like, you get Mark, the guy who's in the wheelchair, and his flirtation with Vicky. Like, they're a cool couple.
Yeah.
It feels natural. And also you get, like, the Kev Bacon character, Jeff.
Yeah.
And Sandra, his girlfriend, who get shish kebabbed in the bed.
Another great kill. Is the wheelchair death in this one, or was that in the next one?
No, it's part 2.
Is that part 2?
Yes,
Yeah, the
machete.
wheelchair death. Yeah, machete to the face.
Backwards.
Which wasn't a stuntman.
No, it was not.
Yeah.
It was not. It's a very cool kill. I also like how this film develops the Jason lore.
Yeah.
You have the famous campfire scene where Paul is telling the councillors the story and the myth and the legend of Jason.
If you can ignore the inconsistencies of how this character's around, the lore is now expanded. Yeah. This is...
Jason has become a legend.
Now. Yes,
yeah.
He is a legend. Apparently he has been a legend beforehand.
Apparently. But is it fair to say that maybe part 2 offers more to the lore of Jason than any of the other films?
Oh, yeah.
Part 2 establishes Jason Voorhees as a myth, as a guy running around Crystal Lake trying to seek revenge for his mum. It probably does the most for his character.
For someone who clearly had very little education growing up and maybe some learning disabilities, he successfully built himself a home that has plumbing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It had a toilet in there. He learned how to do plumbing.
He did learn how to do
maybe not very well, but he did plumbing.
Yeah. I also you get a bit of comedy in this movie as well, like, you know, Muffin the dog. There's a really cool shot where you look at Muffin and then it just cuts to a scene with sausages on the barbecue.
You can tell they had a lot of fun making this one.
Yeah, well, it's directed by Steve Miner.
Yeah. So was he the camera assistant on the previous film?
He had a few jobs on the first film. So
I think a lot of people had a few jobs on the first one.
Yeah, so Steve Miner in the first film was first AD, he was unit production manager, he was also associate producer, so he was very heavily involved in the first film. He comes back to direct part 2 because Cunningham and Miller did not want to come back because they thought resurrecting Jason, making him the killer, was just a stupid idea. So Miner comes back to do 2, and then he also directs part 3.
He does. What was the budget of part 2?
So part 2, the budget was 1.25 million.
And how much did it make?
It made 21.7 million.
It didn't do as well as the first one, did it?
No.
But it's strange how fans often regard that as a better film.
It is. We'll talk about rankings, but I really like part 2. Although, should say that part 1 is the most financially successful of all of them.
Even in the most up-to-date ones?
Yeah, I think so. I believe so.
I suppose it had such a small budget.
Well, the budget for part 1, 550,000, it grossed 59.8 million. So it did very well. It did very, very well.
So moving on to part 3.
Yep.
Of Friday the 13th, 3D.
3D. And we get a very groovy theme tune for this one.
We do. What's the name?
Harry Manfredini.
Harry Manfredini doing the store.
Legend. Like,
he did all of them, didn't he?
He's such an integral part of the Friday movies.
He came up with the which is
it's actually ki ma ma ma, which is
kill ma.
Kill ma. Yeah, kill her, mommy.
Yeah.
Kill her. It's just
he took it
like
from
a
a bit
on that.
He took it from a bit of the Betsy Palmer
Betsy
says.
Palmer, yeah.
I'm gonna have the same issue I had in the first video. I'm just gonna stutter through the whole thing.
Betsy Palmer. It's iconic.
It is iconic. So you then have that thing. Right, we know the killer's around.
Yeah.
Upon rewatch, I didn't have good memories of part 3.
I've always liked part 3 as well.
But upon rewatch, I really enjoyed it.
It's a fun romp.
Yeah. Obviously, I like the character. I think the characters are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
In this one.
Yeah.
I like that they're not camp counselors. They're just friends.
Yeah, they're just mates
away for the weekend. I think when you haven't watched them for a long time, you often assume that every film is just people trying to set up a new camp, and they aren't.
Again, with the Friday movies, I think when I was younger, I always thought that every single film was set in the same spot at Crystal Lake, and they're not.
No, the lake's big. They're all set around it.
Yeah, it's like part 2 is set. It's set on Crystal Lake, but in a different part. It's set in Packanack Lodge, and part 3 again we're nowhere near the previous 2 locations, but we are at Crystal Lake.
Yeah, obviously he finally gets the iconic mask.
He does. He dons the hockey mask.
This is one of the films that really heavily got cut by the ratings board.
Oh, absolutely.
They are the villain of the entire Friday franchise, especially some of the later entries.
Yeah.
And he's out to the person, Shelley? Is that his name? He is?
Shelley, yeah.
Who he gets the mask off. We don't see him take it, we just see Shelley with the mask, then later on we see Jason wearing the mask, and later on we see Shelley with his throat cut. So, oh, well, you'd think that would be a moment they'd want to keep.
Mm-hmm. Apparently not.
Apparently not. But at that moment, that cemented Jason as an icon. He has a distinguishable look, and I think, considering this is a Halloween ripoff, the franchise to a start.
Yeah.
From here onwards, it starts to define itself as its own genre. But ironically, this film is the most like Halloween. Because we see a lot more of Jason.
Yes.
You see a lot of Jason's face. You see a lot in the background. You see a lot of doors closed, and you see him in the background. They even have him in the washing lines in the film, like in Halloween.
Yeah, he's walking around in broad daylight in this one.
So that's why I think I like this one. It's because we see a lot more of Jason. We see a lot more of him in the back. He's a looming threat.
Yeah,
because you can't hide the character anymore. I think, this is a problem I had with 4. You can't hide the character anymore because we know him. We've seen him.
Yeah.
But obviously these characters haven't, so it's more entertaining for the audience to see Jason almost preparing to take them out.
Yeah, it definitely feels like to me upon rewatch that this is kind of like a predator stalking his prey.
Yeah.
He's watching them from afar.
From part 2 onwards, it's a killing spree.
It is.
But so, like, going from part 2 to part 3, is the scene where Jason attacks Amy Steele a dream?
Who knows?
When he comes through the window full face? 'Cause I've heard people reference it as a dream.
So again, just briefly going back to part 2, we have the scene where Amy Steele and Paul, we think that they're safe. Jason comes crashing through the window in a great jump scare. But again, is it a dream sequence?
Yeah. What happens to Paul?
What happened to Muffin, the dog?
They did film Paul's death, but he got cut.
It did get cut.
And they wanted Amy Steele to come back for the next one.
Yeah.
And they said that she was going to go to college, and she was going to find Paul's head in the laundry. Similar to the opening part 2. But she didn't want to come back.
No.
Which, like, again, because I like 3 now.
Yeah.
I thought I'd say that. I'm kind of glad they didn't do that one.
Yeah.
The 3D could definitely have been cut from this film.
This is one of my biggest gripes of part 3. It is. I think the 3D element was cool, but I do think it was a bit of a wasted opportunity. Yeah. 90% of the 3D stuff in this film is not even horror related.
No, and I think the reason for that is, you've seen when they've been talking about trying to do the yo-yo shots, like they have to do like 500 times to get it right, in the cameras. With a lot of the practical effects and the kills, usually they only have one take to get it right.
Yeah.
And if the 3D doesn't pick that up,
but again,
it's too much. Like something like the harpoon gun, something they can have on rails.
That is a cool
That worked.
kill.
That was really cool. I like that.
That's a very cool kill. I will give the film that.
But usually it's things like we have popcorn, we have
popcorn,
juggling,
baseball bat right into the camera.
Bat,
yeah, it's like, come on. I get you having fun with this.
Distracts. Passing the spliff.
The spliff right into the camera. Yeah.
It's a bit distracting, but I don't think it takes away from the film too much.
There's also the great eye-popping kill, that crushes his head.
That was really cool.
And then
you
see the wire.
You see the wire, but it looks really cool.
I absolutely love it, yeah.
I personally really like Jason in this one.
Well, can we also talk a bit about the evolution of the look of Jason as well? From part 2 to part 3.
Jason had 3 different heads in this one.
Yeah, he did.
Like, made by different people.
But this is a very different Jason to part 2.
But at the same time,
visually,
if the end of part 2 is meant to be a dream... That rate is really coming down.
It's coming down thick and fast.
It's coming down thick and fast. If it's meant to be a dream, then that what he actually looks like? Did it actually happen?
It's unusual, I just think, from a storytelling, like filmmaking point of view, to establish the monster in one film and then give your main villain, the main antagonist, a completely different look. It's like a lot of time films want consistency.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th just shoves that right out the window.
Yeah. Well, even like changing to the mask is a massive change to his character.
Yeah.
Jason's clothes actually do change quite a lot for these films as well.
Yeah, he's got his spring fashion now.
This is the one where we have the random memory sequence where we see Jason masked and it...
Yeah, we do.
It's not how it said, but it comes across as a little bit like her sexual harassment.
Yeah. So the final girl in this film, Chris, there's a scene where she's confiding in her boyfriend about one of the reasons why she does not want to be at Crystal Lake is because she was attacked by what she describes as a horribly deformed man attacking her in the woods. He drags her off camera at some point and she, in her words, blacked out. So she can't actually remember what happened. And there is something of an implication that Jason may have sexually assaulted her. It's not overly suggested, but I think the implication is there that could have been what happened.
never class Jason as a sexually active character. And I don't think it works for a character like Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, with the kids.
With the kids.
Yeah.
And with Nancy.
Yes. Yeah.
It adds to the creepiness of his character, but it just doesn't make any sense for Jason.
No.
I think to me, maybe it's just the way it's framed. He could have just been trying to kill her, but I think it's the way she backs away and he grabs for the legs. I think they just filmed it a bit off.
I think so. I also just find it a bit unnecessary. I don't think we needed that memory sequence there. Because
when you look from 2 to 4, he's basically just going on a killing spree from different locations.
Yeah.
She doesn't need to have a link to Jason.
Yeah.
And the only payoff we kind of get is when she does see his face after she's hung him.
And she's
like,
like,
he lifts the mask up and says, "It's you."
I do like the little smile he kind of gives her.
He does give her a little bit of a smile,
like,
so he does recognise her.
Jason has some bit of personality.
Yeah.
He's got a little bit of a sense of humour.
Again, a lot of the kills were cut down for this film, which is a shame because a lot of them, they're still cool, but imagine what they could have been.
Also, cool fact about Part 3, not one of these characters is aware of the name Jason Voorhees.
No.
They don't know who the hell this guy is.
He's just a random killer.
Which makes the final scene of her in the lake and that jump scare a bit weird.
Well, we also, before that, we have potentially another dream sequence after, because it's iconic at this point, the axe in his head and he puts his arms up.
Yes.
And that mask will have that for the rest of it now.
Yeah.
So not only did the mask become a staple, but the injuries the mask has became a staple as well. We see the mask's off, she's in the boat, so that's the safest place to be.
It is.
He appears in the window. It looks really cool.
Oh, it's horrible.
His face looked great.
When he
bursts through the door.
It starts chasing after her.
And then, that was just a dream.
She wakes up, it was a dream. It was all a dream, it's all okay, it's a dream.
Pamela Voorhees' rotten body coming out the water to drag her down. How has she got her head back?
Well,
she was never drowned in the water.
Look, it makes no sense whatsoever.
Absolutely. They say, it's a dream. It's like, well, how does she know about her? If no one in the film knows who Jason is, how would they know about his mother? It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
And this is where people kind of look to the supernatural element, but it's only there because we're looking for the answers.
Yeah.
That the films aren't providing.
They're not providing, and I do understand that. I do just think that they talking about consistency. They obviously like the shock value of the final girl being in the lake, and that final jump scare, something crashing into her and pulling her. I get that, and they want to maintain that as like a little thing for the Friday films that connects them all. But having it be Pamela, to me, just makes absolutely zero sense. Yeah. And if anything, it's just confusing. It's not scary.
Apart from that gripe, I actually do overall think it's a very strong film. Steve Miner was back to direct.
Yeah, he's the only director in the whole franchise to come back and direct 2 films.
Yeah. Did it do well?
It did do well. So the budget was slightly higher. It was 2.2 million. And the box office was 36.7 million. And Part 3, very cool, actually knocked E.T. from the #1 spot at the box office.
No way.
Yeah. And it became the second highest grossing film of 1982. A horror film, sorry, of 1982.
Oh.
Did better than Poltergeist.
Issues with Poltergeist. I like it, but I do have issues with it.
Yeah.
So moving on to what most people regard as the best Friday film, which in my mind it was up there for a long time.
You really liked Part 4.
Yeah. And then on rewatch, I kind of prefer 3. I've got an issue with the name to start with.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So Friday the 13th, the final chapter. None of them have chapters after them.
Yeah.
It's parts, but then Friday the 13th, the final part doesn't make any sense. But it's like the final chapter, it's like, well, we haven't had chapters before this.
No, we have not.
I would prefer the final, if they cut the Friday the 13th and just called it the final chapter.
Yeah. I have a lot of issues with this film. I'm actually shocked that it is so many people's favourites.
Can we talk about one absolutely amazing part of the film, though?
Go on,
which is just Crispin Glover. And his
Crispin
dance.
Glover.
I love
what
Crispin
a guy.
Glover. What a diva.
What an absolute diva. What a dancer.
Out of the guys in the film, he's probably my favourite after the likes of Kevin Bacon and Paul Holt.
Is it a dead fuck, though?
Dead fuck.
But is he? Not according to that twin.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Crispin is one of the saving graces of this film.
Yeah. A lot of cool kills. A lot of cool kills in this film.
There are actually. One of my favourite kills is in this film.
Which one?
It's the twin out the window.
That is pretty cool.
Crashes onto the
Actually,
car.
I like Crispin's with the Bottle cap.
Where's the damn corkscrew?
Yeah, there. It's there. The Jarvis family. I like the Jarvis family.
I do. There's a lot of. I think the intention and the concept of this film was cool. Like introducing a family.
Yeah.
Putting a family into the mix, so it's not just the counsellors. That works.
Well,
for
they're
me.
not counsellors again. They're just kids
yeah,
on holiday. We haven't had counsellors for 2 films now.
Just kids going for a summer trip.
They are quite dull characters. The holiday goers. They're just there to be killed.
I don't remember most of these characters' names. Yeah, exactly. There's nothing particularly special about them.
Most of them get killed off without anyone else realising what's going on.
I think the trouble with the film is, first of all, I think it's a bit too long.
Mm.
It is a little bit slow in parts. I said to you when we watched it that if this was just about the Jarvis family, it would have worked.
Yeah.
And if that other guy that comes into the mix to avenge his sister...
Yeah, can't remember his name. And it doesn't tell you at all which of the many girls that have been killed in this film...
Doesn't make it clear.
Which one's his sister.
But in any other film, I feel like he would have been a main character. We would have spent a lot of time with this
But he's also
guy.
killed off very quickly.
Yeah. He's killing me. He's killing me.
But
it's not a great kill.
The Jarvis' mum killed off screen.
She's killed off screen. And so you've got the Jarvis family. You've got this guy who's trying to avenge his sister, which turns out is Sandra from part 2. Not made clear very well. And then you also have these group of kids.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in this film. And I feel like considering little Tommy Jarvis is meant to be Jason's greatest nemesis.
Yeah. Corey Feldman.
He doesn't have a lot of time with Jason.
He doesn't.
Does not.
And
Corey Feldman is great, though.
They build up the fact that he's into making monster faces and stuff like that, and masks.
The masks.
It doesn't really come into play at all. The iconic scene of he shaves his head to look a bit like Jason because he's read through that guy's newspaper clipping, so he finds out who Jason is and makes himself look like him. Yeah, I think it would have made more sense if he found that out earlier, and then when shit starts going down, he makes a mask to look like Jason.
That would have been very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anything, Trish is more of the nemesis than Tommy is.
I like Trish as a final girl.
Yeah, I like them just as I believe them as brother and sister.
Yeah, I do.
She's not stuck with him.
No, she genuinely likes her little brother.
It seems like potentially a broken family because the father's not there.
Dad's
she's not stuck with him because the mum's now not around.
No.
They generally seem to get along.
Yeah.
Maybe because they're forced to live in a cabin in the middle of the woods.
But they're a nice family.
They are, and you do like them. And I kind of wish we'd had a bit more time with them.
Yeah, that again on rewatch. They don't actually spend a lot of time.
You know what type of plot would have worked with this? The plot of Dog Soldiers. Obviously they're in the house, just getting attacked. You did not expect me to pull a Dog Soldier.
No, I was not.
They're constantly getting attacked and having to fight them off. Jason could have just been attacking this house.
Yeah.
And they're fighting him off. I think that would have worked a lot better. It would have been a very different film.
Do we need the kids in this film?
Not particularly. They're just there to be killed.
I would like to talk about one kill in particular. The girlfriend, I think she's called Sam in the movie, and she's gone off in a huff because her boyfriend is flirting with one of the Doublemint twins, who were great. And she's like, oh, whatever, I'm going to go and take a swim in the lake at midnight.
Yeah.
I'm going to go skinny dipping because it's Friday the 13th movie. She gets skewered when she's in the little raft.
Yeah, she got
thing.
hypothermia.
That's why I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah.
These films, although they are fun to watch, it doesn't always sound like they're fun films to make. Because that actress genuinely got hypothermia doing that scene. And the guy that plays
they had to film
Jason...
it in January.
They filmed it in January. So the guy that plays Jason, I think it's Ted White, he could tell she was really suffering. And he asked if they could stop filming for that particular scene so she could go and get warmed up. And the director said, no. We've got to do it. We've got to finish the scene. And Ted White actually threatened to walk off the set unless she could go back to her trailer and get warmed up.
She went blue when they got her out.
She genuinely did get hypothermia. She was ill for quite a while afterwards. So yeah.
It's like from watching documentaries, a couple of cases. I think there's that in one other case which we'll talk about in another video that seemed to be like the worst to do with this film.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I feel like people enjoy working on them.
I think so, yeah, for the most part people do. People always say they have a lot of fun. In that documentary, Crystal Lake Memories...
The fact they managed to get all the directors,
yeah,
all the final girls, all the Jasons...
Yeah.
It's like, they wouldn't come back and talk about
No.
it if they weren't if they didn't enjoy it.
I mean, even that actress, Judy Aronson, I think she's called, the one who got hypothermia. She's there. She's talking about it.
And the one we'll talk about in a later video. She also came back.
Yeah.
Because eventually she did have a good experience on the film.
She did. Yeah, I think they all did. Wacky sets.
Wacky sets.
Can we talk a bit about Corey Feldman?
Yeah.
Little Corey as
I think
Tommy
he's great.
Jarvis.
I really like him.
Corey Feldman was riding high in the 80s. He was doing very well. I think this was the start of it. So he does Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter. He then gets cast in The Goonies.
Yeah. I don't really want to talk about Part 5.
Yeah.
But Corey Feldman does reprise his role in the beginning of the film. He wanted to do another one. They wanted him to do another one.
Yeah.
But he was filming The Goonies.
So
they had to film that opening with him.
Yeah.
In his back garden in one night. He was busy.
Corey Feldman wanted to come back and do Tommy.
He wanted that to be his franchise.
And he blamed Steven Spielberg for preventing him from doing that.
What film is he more iconic for? Friday the 13th or Goonies?
But then obviously after Goonies, he goes and does Stand By Me.
Because what we haven't mentioned, he's the narrator on that documentary.
Oh, he is. He's a great narrator, actually.
Yeah.
He does very well. But yeah, he goes off and does Stand By Me in 86. In 87, he does The Lost Boys. He does very, very well.
Yeah. I would say, I know I said Kevin Bacon was the biggest name to come out of it. I'm going to stick with that purely because his career has, I think...
It's been consistent.
It got big, dipped, and he's consistent since. Whereas Feldman kind of, after the young cuteness dipped away, he's kind of... He still works, but he's not...
He peaked in the 80s.
He peaked in the 80s.
Yeah.
But I think he is great in this film. Like I say, personally, I feel like Trish was more of Jason's nemesis because her fight with him is great. Jason's face when she gets the mask up as well looked fantastic.
Oh, the kill...
Tom Savini was back doing special effects.
Yeah, Savini comes back.
That shot machete through the head.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
I really started enjoying the film once the final act in the house started.
Yeah.
Everything about that was brilliant. I think that's, when people watch it, that's what they remember the most.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think a lot of the good stuff I was remembering about that film, I was actually forgetting was part 3.
Was part 3?
Yeah. I didn't expect to enjoy part 3 as much.
Again, we'll go to ranks at the end. It's not that I dislike part 4, but it's not as great as I once remember it being. But I still enjoy watching it. There are still a lot of things to like about the movie.
Yeah. They're all flawed films. They all have, like 2, 3, 4 all have ridiculously long monologues basically explaining the plot of the previous film. That's the only one without a strange ending. Yes. Although it comes across as a bit strange, like with Tommy's story later on.
Yeah, yeah.
They're all just a lot of fun. Just don't think about the plot too much or how they try and set it up. But this is the end of that initial story. Human Jason Voorhees story.
Part 1 to 4 is classic Friday the 13th.
Classic Friday the 13th.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think the rest that come afterwards are bad. There's some really fun entries to come.
There are. Yeah, there are.
But as that initial 4-film saga, it's a lot of fun, and I've really enjoyed rewatching them. So
yeah.
What's your ranking of these?
So my ranking, best to worst, part 2. I love part 2, largely because of Amy Steele. Mm-hmm. I think she's great. I also love Paul, but I just think as a film, it's really great. I love the counselors as well. Then the original. I love the original Friday the 13th. I think it's great. Then part 3, and then part 4. 2, 1, 3, 4.
2, 1, 3, 4.
For me.
See, for me, number 3's gone straight up to the top there.
Mm-hmm.
It's 3, 2, 1, 4.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's a bad film in there.
No, there isn't. Just my personal.
It's like
personal
4
favorites.
towards the end has some of the best moments in the franchise.
Yeah.
It's just you've got to wait through a long movie to get there.
Yeah.
1 for me, I enjoy it, but I think because of how it's aged and things that come afterwards, I find it a bit slow. I really enjoy it as a film. And then 2 and 3, I think, are so important for developing Jason's character.
Yeah. I can rewatch the first 3 time and time again, and I have, and I will continue to do that. I don't think part 4 is one I'll rewatch as consistently.
Yeah. You know what I think is one of the most rewatchable Friday the 13th films?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Not for good reasons, but it's one of the most rewatchable, and I absolutely cannot wait. That's like 2 videos time. I cannot wait to talk about Jason X.
Oh God, we're not rewatching that.
It's the first one we watched together.
It is the first one. Yeah, why?
So I wanted to make you watch it. So the next segment will be 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Yes.
Which brings us to the end of the Paramount era.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final video will be the New Line films.
Yes. Yeah.
Again, I'm looking forward to it because I have recently rewatched Part 5, and I also now feel more fondly about that than I used to.
I like Part 5.
I do.
Not ashamed of it.
But yeah, thank you for sitting and listening to us ramble on for
I also should have
what will be well over half an hour.
Oh, absolutely. Should have mentioned at the beginning that I tried to dress up as Pamela Voorhees. This is my most Pamela.
This is my camp counsellor attire. Also,
yeah.
I said the same as I wore last time. That is, yes, your Pamela Voorhees jumper.
Forever. Unintentional, but you know.
It's very fun. There are probably like lists out there of, if you want to get into Friday the 13th, what ones are necessary watches.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I'd say the first 4.
First 4?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then I think you can kind of pick and choose after that.
You absolutely can.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first 4, I do like.
Yeah.
I like a lot.
I think in our next video we will see the Kane Hodder's entrance into the franchise.
We will.
Yeah.
The man himself.
The man himself. Yeah. It's strange. Again, we were talking about like iconic things coming into it. Obviously, Mask came in 3 films in. Kane Hodder is the most iconic Jason.
He is.
And he doesn't come in for like the first 6, 7. It's the 7th film he comes in.
Yeah, I know.
That's mad. But he's also the longest running Jason.
He is the longest running Jason, and he is. You know what? He's a cool Jason.
He is, and he's very passionate about it.
He is.
But thank you again. Thank you for watching.
Yeah.
Our next one is actually on Slumber Party Massacre 1 and 2.
Yeah. We're in full on 80s mode.
We are. Well, it's October. We're allowed. We're
It
allowed
is October.
80s horror. So
spooky season.
Until next time.